Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to an amazing episode of the Poetry of Justice show with JackieRay Phillips, featuring none other than Laura G, the benefactor, guys. So here we are for an amazing episode for an evening with Zakiya Young. So I am just going to go ahead and just toss this show over to Sissy, and I'm going to be here, and we're going to make magic happen. Lori G.
Absolutely. Hey, y'all. Again, I always say this, but you're definitely in for another treat because my girl is here. And oh my gosh, you talk about pearls of wisdom. She is full of them. I had the pleasure of meeting her a little over, not even quite a year yet, but I was so taken with her spirit, her energy, and truly her light. So, Sissy's job and I tonight is to try to pull out those pearls of wisdom. So we have Miss Zakiya Young with us.
Yay.
Hello.
Yay.
And Zakiya has a resume as long as my arm. She's a creative. She's an actress. She is a playwright. She is an educator. She's also a businesswoman, both in corporate as well as entertainment. So the list goes on and on and on. And so without further ado, welcome, Miss Zakiya.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Bless you, Queen. God bless you. So happy.
Thank you.
You want to start?
I will.
Let's
Yes.
do
So
it.
I want to save your latest project for a little bit down the journey, but I want to start a little bit with your acting career. Now, we all know that you have a Broadway credits behind you, but what was your inspiration to become an actress?
Well, my family, we are a singing family. House is full of music. And growing up in the church, you know, you have the Easter programs where everyone memorizes their little speech. And my mom would always do dramatic readings. So when my mom was in college at Fayetteville State, she did a lot of plays with the Drama Guild.
Wow.
So I grew up hearing about that, but she never felt like she wanted to do it professionally. And she was also a little scared. And, you know, with all the lessons that they were putting us in, we were taking dance class, piano lessons. And even though I was focused on pre-med, I loved being an artist. I loved performing. My parents said at my first dance recital, I think I was 2, I just decided I wanted to do my own thing. And I just started spinning and spinning. And my dad said he ran up to the front of the stage and was like there to catch me. But I've always been kind of a ham. And freshman year, I think it was my 3rd semester because I had taken summer courses in pre-med. And I was just like, I don't love it. I'm not passionate about this. I see what my roommate's doing. I don't want to do that. And my parents said, all right, we'll compromise. We don't want you to get a degree in acting. You have to choose something else. And they paid for my private lessons. So I majored in communications.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And then right before I graduated, I auditioned for my first professional show and I got it.
Oh my God.
And it was a tour with Cheetah Rivera.
No
wow.
way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was a tour, it was a show that, you know, I was happy to be there.
Yes,
I got my
yes.
union card, and I think that showed my parents like, oh, I think she can work in this business. And then I moved to New York, and 9/11 happened 2 days after I moved to New York
Oh my goodness.
to the West Village. I was right out of college, and I lived below 14th Street, so I couldn't go anywhere. And I remembered saying to my parents, because of course they wanted to get to me, I was like, look, God had me oversleep for a reason because I was supposed to be downtown that morning.
No way.
Overslept. Woke up. The world was crazy. And you know, a lot of shows were closing. So I dug into the corporate background. My sister helped me get a job in pharma.
Amen.
And I shifted gears, but I felt art calling me back. So I had gotten married. That's part of my show. We'll talk about that later. But,
Yay.
you know, I felt the artistic spirit again. So I went to an open call, and that led to my first Broadway show.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it was like, it was almost like the universe was like, finally, Stop
Good.
fighting it.
Yeah, just go
Mhm.
with it.
Just go with it.
Mhm.
And then from then on, it just felt like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
I'm supposed to be using my creative gifts while also being mindful of the platform I'm
Amen.
getting.
Yes.
So I've always been very big on making sure that Black people know that we are in all parts of the arts.
Absolutely.
So I was out one night with the Murr sisters. My first Broadway show was the original cast of The Little Mermaid.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I walked in the first day and I was like, wait a minute, we're here?
Right.
Because usually with like a
Amen.
non-Black
Yeah,
show,
right.
there's maybe one or two.
Mhm.
I want to say a third of the cast was Black.
Holy cow.
Wow.
And I was a Murr sister.
Oh,
And King
okay.
Triton was Black, Norm Lewis. You had Titus Burgess.
And this is a new okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I remembered being out with the girls one night. I met a sister and she worked for Ebony.
Mm.
So I started talking to her. I said, Little Mermaid has a lot of us in it. It would be great if you could do a feature
Absolutely.
on our show.
Mhm.
Turn into this whole spread about Black people on Broadway.
Yay.
Wow.
So I've always just, it's not that I wanted to leave my corporate self behind,
Mhm.
but I'm always trying to find ways to show us
Mhm.
that we are out here and we can do all of the things. But
Yes.
I don't think I'll ever lose my artistic heart.
Mhm.
Yes.
So yeah, after Mermaid, I did a play called Stick Fly.
What was that about?
It was about Black rich people in Martha's Vineyard.
Wow.
They're at the summer house
Mhm.
and a family secret comes out.
Holy cow.
And it was starring Tracy Toms, Condola Rashad.
Mhm.
I was their offstage standby. Dule Hill, Mackay Pfeiffer, Ruben Santiago Hudson, and Rosie Benton.
Wow.
Wow.
That's so amazing.
I mean, and it was funny because
Yeah.
I don't have a BFA,
Mhm.
but I read the script and I was like, oh, I know these girls.
Right.
Mhm.
I know this life.
Yes.
And I went in and Kenny Leon directed it.
Mhm.
And I
And you
remembered I had like 3 auditions that day and I was in rehearsal for something else. I was like, I'm not going to
I'm
get it. I roll in, casting's like, oh, Kenny's running a little late. And I'm like, oh, snap, I didn't know Kenny was going to be here. His energy reminded me of my uncle's.
Mm.
So it made you feel calm.
Made you comfortable.
Comfortable, but also like some of my uncles have this intimidation thing,
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
kind of like this, prove yourself,
Ah.
you know?
Show me.
Exactly. So like I remember coming into the room, he didn't look up, he was writing down some stuff. And I had both of the scenes. And I said, well, which one do you want me to do first? He didn't look up. He was like, I don't care. Just choose wisely. You probably won't be able to do both scenes.
Oh, wow.
So that's when I was like,
I'ma
oh, I
show
know this
you.
energy.
Right,
Uh-huh.
right. I got,
Got
you.
you.
Player.
So I did the harder scene because one character was 27, another was 18. And I've been this height. I'm 5'10". I've been this height since I was like 14.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I know that folding in on yourself,
Mhm.
that when you just want to disappear. Did that scene and he was like, all right, do the next one. Did it, left, and I got the job that afternoon.
Amen.
All right.
Yay.
So-
What was the energy like? So let's go deeper. I like
Yeah.
that. Let's go.
Yeah.
So you get that call. Where email,
Oh my
text,
gosh.
message, break it down to the ground.
It was like a scene out of a TV show.
Okay.
Because I was stressed out because I was doing the workshop for the musical based on the film Rocky. So
Oh.
we were rehearsing in Brooklyn
Mhm.
in a renovated bathhouse so we
Yes.
could have a full-size boxing ring.
Gotcha.
So I had to go from Midtown down to Brooklyn and then back for an audition for Porgy and Bess. That was the one I wanted.
Ah.
It was starring
yes.
Audra McDonald,
Mhm.
who I love. And I
I
felt like,
remember that one.
yeah,
Yes.
and all my friends were in it.
Uh-huh.
So I was feeling left out. And when I left the audition, I didn't feel great. My phone rings. My agent says, you got stick fly. And I just stopped and I was like, wait, what? And he was like, you got your first Broadway play. And I just started crying. I was
That
like,
part. Oh my God.
oh my gosh.
Vision shock.
It just shock.
Elation.
Yes. Shock,
Tears flow.
elation, tears. I was like, I'm going to be able to pay my rent. Like, and all of the doors that I knew were going to open. And
Mhm.
I called my best friend and we were so broke. We met at a diner and had diner wine because we had to toast, but that's all we could afford. But it just opened up my whole world because I didn't know so many Black Broadway people were in LA
Mhm.
Wow.
working on the TV shows. So
Gotcha.
they were coming to see the show.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm meeting Black Hollywood. And I was like, oh, we out here like this?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time I actually considered moving to LA.
Wow.
I literally thought I would never move here. I was like, there's no place for me in LA. I just, it's
What made you
like,
think that?
I think because I didn't see myself.
Is it was LA is too cliche?
I
It's
think,
Hollywood talk. It's just
yeah, it's
clickety
like,
click.
I didn't feel like I had the energy for LA. I felt more like business minded. New
Gotcha.
York.
Gotcha.
I'm very,
Gotcha.
your sister will tell you, I'm very direct. I'm very direct. So I just didn't feel like I had that
Gotcha.
energy.
Yes.
But then actually coming here and meeting people, I was like, oh, okay.
It's not as bad as I thought.
But yeah, Stickfly opened up the door to that and to TV and the being able to live out my dream is beautiful and it's a blessing, but I also feel like it's for a purpose.
Yes.
I'm not here to any type of fame that I get is for a higher purpose. It's never just going to be about me. So with every opportunity, I like to dig in and see, okay, what is this really going to be about? How is my art going to open up a door for me to do more?
Based on this. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
I love it. I know I've been dominating the questions. I'm sorry. You go ahead. No, I'm sorry. You go, Sissy.
Well, I want to transition just a little bit to your newest play,
Yes.
Suburban Black Girl.
Yes.
Right? And I want to know what's the inspiration, just the name
Right.
Yeah.
itself. I mean, I don't know if that's
Yeah.
if that's all
Yes.
telling, but
Yeah.
what brought that on?
Well, I grew up in the suburbs. Parents are from the deep South. My mom went to Fayetteville State. My dad went to Southern.
What's it there in Louisiana?
My mom was from North Carolina. So
Okay.
Fayetteville State was in North Carolina, and
Okay.
it's now been bought by the UNC.
Yes.
So now it's part of that. But back then it was an HBCU. My dad's from Louisiana.
Okay.
I was raised outside of Philly.
Mm.
And it's that thing of we were the one of 3 Black families in my neighborhood.
Okay.
You keep your head down, you do good work, you don't ruffle the feathers
Right.
because we have worked too hard to get here.
Absolutely.
So always that mindset of never speaking out too much about racial things, right? And when Ahmaud Arbery was killed, I remember I was living in North Hollywood and I saw the footage and I saw all of my friends on Facebook saying, I didn't know that racism was still a thing. This is terrible, blah, blah, blah. I was like, what do you mean you didn't know?
Right.
And then as things went on with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, I got so angry that my friends that I grew up with clearly didn't know what was going on, that I did this video and I had put, everyone's doing crazy hair. So I had purple braids in my hair. And I just filmed this video where it's like, what is it going to take for y'all to start speaking up? What is it going to take? And I was calling out, I had been a member of an evangelical church in Brooklyn, very multi-ethnic. I'm in a traditionally white sorority, which is a whole, I'm sure we will get into that. And I was just like, I don't understand how you guys don't think that racism is still a thing. And an artistic director of the Ojai Playwrights Conference, I had done that as an actor in 2018. He was on my Facebook friends list. He saw the video and I started having more videos with allies.
Okay.
So the Broadway husbands, who are a white gay couple who live in the South, but we did a Broadway show together. So I was talking to them about what allyship looks like. I had an interview with a Gen Z woman whose family is from Iran. All kinds of conversations just to kind of break down the wall.
Absolutely.
And an artistic director from Ojai Playwrights Conference reached out to me and he said, I think this is a solo show. And if you will write it, I'll help you structure it and I'll serve as dramaturg. And I was like, I'm not a playwright. Like, what are you talking about, Robert? Like, thank you, but no thanks. And then January 6th happened. And I was like, and I was teaching at a different college and we were still online because of COVID and everyone's phones started going off. So I said, we're not going to learn anything today. Let's just talk about what's happening.
Absolutely.
And after that class, I was like, I have to write this play. So at first it was the untitled Zakiya Young project, but what it turned into was me actually choosing to take the filter off and hold up a mirror and use my real life experiences to illustrate how far we've come, but how much more work we need to do. And how we, as basically examining the cost of assimilation, you know, what are you losing by trying to fit in? And I did it I had 2 playwriting fellowships. I was filming Pretty Little Liars in New York. I was filming that during the day. And then as soon as we would cut, I would hop onto my fellowship Zoom and start working on the show. So we did it on Zoom. Then I did it in person in 2022 for the Ojai Playwrights Conference New Works Festival. And that is a very, Ojai, Ojai.
Yes.
And people were leaning in, even though some people had some issues with me talking about these sorts of things in public, because we don't do that.
Right.
I noticed
Was it more familiar?
It was more, well, yeah, that was the first thing. My sister was like, why are you doing this? Why would you even
Open up this
risk your
can.
career
Okay.
by talking about these things? And I was like, that first video had gone viral. And I was getting so many DMs from people saying like, thank you for explaining things without making us feel stupid.
Gotcha.
And I was like, I think I have a gift for code switching.
Absolutely.
And I think that my ability to tell this story and hold people accountable, but not, it's
Drilling
like I
it.
go in, but I don't drill it.
Right.
To see so many older, wealthy white people listening and leaning in.
Yes.
To see younger Black people like, thank you for saying this. It helped me see, okay, this actually is a show that we need. So we kept refining it. We did it at La Jolla Playhouse for their new work series.
Yes.
Again, La Jolla.
It's beautiful.
2 nights, sold out, the talkbacks. Most of the people are staying. And at the end of the show, it's like this, people are just sitting there thinking.
Right.
And they want to connect and they want to talk about it. I feel like I'm planting seeds. And if I have to dig up my trauma to do it, I'm happy to do it.
Gotcha.
And because everything I talk about actually happened to me, nobody can say racism doesn't exist. Because I'm like, I just illustrated all of these ways that the church upholds white supremacy, my town, the Greek system. There are so many ways that we uphold it without realizing it. And I even have a conversation with the brothers. We talk about dating, interracial dating. And, I never wanted to date white guys. My parents will have been married 54 years this December.
That's great.
Yeah.
Amen.
And I always wanted to marry somebody that looked like my dad. And that just wasn't the case. And shining a spotlight on even that.
Right.
Like, what happens when in your hometown, most of the Black boys are only dating white girls? What does that do to your self-esteem? How do you see the world differently? And I play about between 23 and 27 different characters.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it definitely it's like writer brain was like, this is a great idea. But actor brain was like, why did you do this? And I think the most meaningful conversations that I have in the show, I do a white church service and a Black church service, showing the different ways that we interpret scripture based on our experiences. And then the conversation with the brothers, we have real talk. It was based on a conversation I had with one of my homeboys. And I was like, why is there so much conflict between us? I don't understand. We both want the same thing. And he was basically like, because y'all really don't need us.
Wow. That was his answer?
Literally. He was like, because y'all don't need us for babies. it goes back to slavery because y'all had to fend for yourselves because we couldn't protect you from what white men were doing. And then with like Jim Crow and the crack epidemic and how they're just trying to lock us up for anything, y'all don't need us.
We had no choice.
And exactly. And I couldn't stop thinking about that for days. And he's also a playwright. And I texted him, I said, yo, can I put this conversation in my show and add to it? He was like, yeah, everything's fair game. So I took it and expanded on it based on what I've seen also happening online. You know, all of the podcasts and the thought pieces about dating nowadays and interracial marriage and how we feel about all of that. And that conversation was the scariest one to write and perform. But Black men have been leaning in.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, now, brothers, I'm saying this because I love you. Yes. And I don't want to be yet another voice that's coming against you. But also, we need to have a talk.
Right.
Because
just hash it out.
We do. Because, like, we're missing each other and it's stressing me out. And I love y'all. But also, there's a reason why a lot of women had said, we're not dating anymore. Right. So it's almost like my show is covering all of these issues, but using real life events. And it's just been an incredible experience. Like I have a Black director, a Black stage manager, a wonderful Jewish woman came alongside me and asked, would you be open to having a white producer? I said, yes. This is where you use your privilege. Yes, absolutely. Right. Yes, please. Thank you. And what's been great about her, she came in with humility. She was like, I just want to listen and I want to learn. And then eventually we would start saying, well, Lori, what do you think about this? And she would say, okay, well, from my perspective, this is what I think white people would need to hear in this moment. Because I wrote the show for suburban Black women because we don't see ourselves on stage. You know, yes, we have Insecure now, we have Blackish, we have Reasonable Doubt. Right. But in theater, it tends to either be the civil rights movement, the inner city, or slavery.
Right.
You know, or putting up with some no good man.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't want to tell that story.
Doing that.
And I feel like we need to see ourselves, but also, you know, it's a business. So it can't just be Black people benefiting from this show. I need to make sure to plant seeds for white people as well. So Lori helps balance us. And sometimes we'll just be like, no, that's a Black thing. Gotcha. We don't need to explain this. Right. But then there are other things where I'm like, oh, you know what? That is a good perspective. And I don't want to miss the opportunity to plant all kinds of seeds. Right. Yes. I don't have the answers, but I can start a conversation.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's amazingly beautiful.
Thank you.
So you go with your flow and you go with your spirit and go with the energy. What do you say drives that for you internally? You know what I mean? You know what I mean.
I know what you mean. I think it's Jesus and the ancestors. I really do. I can't help but think about, I feel like my grandparents are cackling that I'm saying all this stuff in front of white people and that they're leaning into it.
Right.
You know, it's not that I'm saying anything new, because I'm sure other people have said some of the things I say in my show, but the way I say it allows all different types of people to hear it. And I feel like I have a responsibility to speak in the ways that the people before me couldn't have, to honor the sacrifice that my parents made by moving to a predominantly white suburb. And I do feel like this is a calling that God has given me. I think that's also why sometimes when I speak, it's like I just say the things because I'm like, I'm divinely protected. And I'm not afraid of conflict. I see conflict as a way to start conversation, because if we keep speaking at each other about an issue, nothing's going to happen.
Right.
And then if we power down and just ignore it, the resentment's going to build up.
Right.
And then we explode. So I'm trying to be more mindful of what I feel God has given me that's unique to me
Mm-hmm.
that allows me to share this message.
Mhm.
You know, like when I first told my parents I was writing the show, they were like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, think about it, guys. I'm really good at talking about tough
Mhm.
things to mixed groups of people and adding comedy to
Mhm.
kind of loosen people
Right.
up.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I'm not afraid of being open and vulnerable and honest, but I do feel like when you feel called,
Mhm.
like it's like I couldn't stop thinking about this message that I was supposed to deliver.
Gotcha.
And the longer I was disobedient, the more all the other stuff in my life was falling apart.
Right. Things were not in alignment.
Yeah. So I'm definitely big on energy and the
Mhm.
fact that this literally came to me when so many playwrights were like, "How do you get into Ojai Playwrights Conference?" I'm like, they just reached out and I submitted my play and it worked.
Right.
So my career has really been, it doesn't make sense
Mm.
according to,
Textbook, if you
yeah,
will.
Mhm.
but it's literally like,
Secular world.
yes, yes. And it's almost like God and the ancestors were like, finally, good, you're
Absolutely.
open.
Mhm.
Right.
Now we can open these doors
Mhm.
that you've been looking at, but you weren't quite ready to go through. And now that you're open, here's this opportunity, here's this person that's going to come see your show.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
now,
take it there. Right.
yeah, like I had my first business meeting at Soho House with a man who came to see the show and is like, "How can I help?"
Oh, beautiful.
I was like, "I've been here for 8 years." And these are the things that
Mhm.
need to happen in the industry. But it was like I had to be obedient fully
Mhm.
Right.
for any of that to happen.
But you also spoke earlier that you began planting seed
Mhm.
Mhm.
so that 8 year was the time.
Ooh,
And now you're reaping your harvest
come
Mhm.
on. Yes.
according to your purpose,
Mhm.
Yes.
which allows even more testimony.
100%. I mean, none of this, it's for me, but it's not, you
Yes.
know? So it's like,
Mhm.
that's why I'm careful about my energy. I'm careful about where I'm pouring in. I love teaching because I also feel like there aren't enough, let me be careful how I say this. We have just started as Black women in the industry to really pour into mentoring each other.
Right.
Mhm.
My experience in New York was that Black men had mentors from Black women that we want to take care of. But I didn't have any Black women come alongside me when I was in New York
Mhm.
trying to figure out the business. And that's all I wanted.
Mhm.
Yes.
So now when I teach, I like to just give that perspective of, hey, these are the things that you might experience.
Mhm.
Little heads
These are the
up.
pitfalls that I wish I would have known about.
Absolutely.
My experiences are not just for me,
Mm-hmm.
they're for everybody. And I'm grateful that I can alchemize it,
Right.
you know?
Absolutely. That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
I know I was monopolizing again. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no way. You know, your story definitely lands on me and my sister in an interesting way because we grew up in the city of Compton.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we, became adults, we didn't move too far. We moved to like North Long Beach.
Mm-hmm.
But then I took this huge journey with my children to a place called Never Never Land,
No.
which is the suburbia.
Ah, yeah.
And my girls are 7 years apart. So I had one who was really pretty much a product of the inner city where
Mhm.
she grew up. Then I have a little one who really is a suburban girl,
Yeah.
right? I'm interested in knowing, being a suburban girl,
Mm-hmm.
and there's, I'm sure suburban girls listening to the POJ show. What was the hardest obstacle or challenge being that suburban girl? And how did you overcome it? Or did you?
It's a good question. I think the biggest challenge was identity
Mm-hmm.
because everyone is projecting onto you what they think Blackness looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So, even my cousins from down south, it was, oh, you guys are from the north and you talk like Valley girls.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a place called West Bradford, and that's not the black part of Downingtown. The black part of Downingtown is Johnsontown, but we don't live there. So now we're not black enough. But then the white kids, you know, it's the 90s, so gangster rap is becoming popular, and all of a sudden my classmates are speaking to me in Ebonics, and I'm like,
Not
why do you,
Ebonics.
like, legit. It's like, I used to say to this one boy, like, you can
Holy
just
cow.
talk to me like a human being.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? Stop.
Right. Also, we grew up in Downingtown. We're not from the city. What do you mean? So I think it was that. It was like you don't have the same freedom to just be.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is trying to tell you who you should be, and it's beyond the roles that the little cliques in school. It's like, no, who am I as a person?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, am I beautiful? Am I smart? It's like you're constantly being told either you're a surprise or you're not enough with regard to your blackness.
Right.
And that's not something that, like, as much as you love your kids, you can't protect them from going through that at school.
Right.
Because my parents always told me I was talented, I'm beautiful, I can do anything I put my mind to. But when you go to school and Marsha Brady is the prototype for beauty,
Right. Right. What do you
I
do?
think that was the hardest thing. And honestly, writing my show, every time I performed it, it's healing a different part of me. I think it's a lifelong journey. And being out here in LA among other suburban Black girls helps me feel like, oh, it wasn't just me. But yeah, my nieces still live in my hometown, and I'm always trying to pour into them that they get to decide who they are.
Right.
They don't have to be anyone else's version of what a Black girl is. We get to decide what that is. And I wish I would have known that growing up.
So when you look at your journey as a suburban girl and you look at your niece's journey, are there similarities or are there great differences?
Similarities, but they go to private school for a reason, because there are apparently more Black upper middle class families that are in the area now. And my sister was very clear, like, I don't want them going through what we went through.
That's cool.
I want them to be, or like, they're in Jack and Jill, you know, they are a little more privileged than we were, but the similarities are there with having friends of all different races and the shift that happens when you get to middle school.
Yeah.
And like, it's fascinating seeing them navigate race, especially nowadays.
Right.
Some of the things are the same though. I mean, we were I was showing my parents campus, and you know, as I mentioned, I'm in a white sorority, and I saw some of the kids sitting out on the lawn, so I was like, let me pop out and just tell them good luck on finals and introduce myself. And they were like, oh, you should come in, we're having brunch. So I brought my nieces in, and my niece Michaela just had this look on her face like, why are you in the sorority with all white people? What are you doing? And I'm like, fix your face, you know? But it was interesting seeing that Michaela was like, not here for it. And the baby was just kind of taking it in like, okay, I'm a little shy, but this could be nice. And my middle niece, who wasn't there, she's more assimilated. I feel like I would not be surprised if she joined a white sorority.
Gotcha.
Whereas the oldest girl was like, nah, this is not it. So it was interesting to see that they have very different takes on the world.
Right.
Right.
What did make you make that decision?
Yeah, I was like,
Oh, yeah.
Gotta ask.
Just ask.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Her mom's a Zeta. So
Yeah, mom's
I'm
a Zeta.
interested.
My mom's a Zeta, my sister's a Zeta. Half my aunts and cousins are Zetas, and the other half are AKA.
Okay.
And I was little Miss Z5B. I always thought I would be a Zeta. And then when I went to Pitt, I met the girls in the chapter and we just didn't click. And I was having a really hard time making friends because I was on the dance team. So I missed orientation. I missed all those getting to know you activities. And one day at dance practice, one of the few girls that was nice to me, she was like, well, would you ever join a white sorority? I was like, no. And I said, well, and besides, nobody ever gives me flyers for Rush. And she was like, they're not giving you flyers for Rush. That is so wrong. Let me talk to my chapter president about this because this is not right. And she and her chapter president went to the Pan-Hellenic Association, and they were like, y'all are being discriminatory,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to start reaching out to all kinds of women. And I was impressed that they would do that just because I mentioned an issue. And I had never been seen like that. I felt like my concerns were being validated for the first time by white women.
Mm-hmm.
And they invited me to an informal rush party, and I went and I had fun. And they offered me a bid that night, and I was like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it, and I talked to my parents, and my sister was very against it. And my mom was like hurt.
Oh.
She was like, I always thought you would be a Zeta,
Mm-hmm.
but she goes to the Boulé every time it's offered. And I remember she was her chapter president at the time. So she contacted the higher ups and asked, well, it's a whole different society. So could she still become a Zeta? Now, at the time in 1997, the answer was yes, because it's two different Pan-Hellenic associations.
Oh.
There's MPHC,
Mm-hmm.
but the white sororities are Pan-Hellenic and the white fraternities are Interfraternity Council. So they said, okay, well, it's two totally different experiences. So yeah, if she wants to do grad chapter, that's fine. I hear that that has changed. And I also have realized that my unique viewpoint actually is more powerful in the white space because I speak up about racism.
Mm-hmm.
I just was on a call with our CFO and I said, what are we doing to protect our undergrads? We have undergrads who might be deported. We have undergrads whose families might be deported. We have trans sisters. What are we doing to support our Black sisters?
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to one of my homegirls, and I was really, to be honest, I was like, they haven't made a statement. I'm about to quit. And she said, sis, your voice is actually really valuable in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe don't leave yet. And when I got on that call with the CFO, I was heard. And I was like, yeah, that's what I mean. It wasn't without its bumps. I do go into a whole section in Suburban Black Girl where I talk about that because also the Black Greek experience at Pitt was rough for me because I would be at white fraternity parties and the cops would like peek in and then they'd leave. At the Black fraternity parties, the cops were there the whole night and they didn't have houses on campus. And they were literally just watching everybody, everything. And I was like, I feel like they're just waiting to arrest us. I don't feel comfortable here. And I also don't like that you go up the hill and they're just peeking in and like, oh, don't party too hard. And I just didn't like feeling like I was like they were just waiting to arrest me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the honest thing. I went to two Black fraternity parties in my 4 years at Pitt because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't want to be around the cops. They made me nervous.
Girl.
Preach. Yeah.
How was it for you, sis?
Pledging.
The differential.
Yeah, I think for me, I agree with you. It all depends on your campus, right?
Yeah.
And the women that are on that campus.
Yeah.
As to where you feel comfortable. I have to say, for me, going to a predominantly white university, it never crossed my mind to pledge anything outside of a Black Greek organization. I think my struggle was between AKA and Zeta. That was the bounce back and forth there.
Yeah.
And I went to, the informationals, and as much as I think Papa Tank wanted
I know
me
that she got massive backlash. Massive.
wanted me to be an AKA,
Uh-huh.
I
He was
just
so hurt. How you said about your mom.
yeah, I didn't connect with those
Yeah.
women, like
Yeah.
not in a bad way. I just
Yeah.
the women who were there in the chapter at that time were not about what I was interested in or I wanted to be about.
Yeah.
And I went to a Zeta informational, and it was like, bam, right away. These people
Yeah.
are about service. They're about helping. They're about community. And I could see myself there. But when I was at SC, it was a huge, huge divide,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And again, it was that if we did anything on campus security was there
The entire time.
constantly the entire time.
Yeah.
The row, which is
Mhm.
just a couple blocks away, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, they purposely avoid the row because they don't want to
To
see,
deal with
Yeah.
it.
right?
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with
Mhm.
what was
What's really going
potentially
on. Yeah.
happening and going
Yeah,
on
crazy.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, yes, I've found sisterhood and there are more Black Tri-Deltas, so we're all finding each other. But there is part of me that's like, if I could do it again, I don't know that I would have pledged anything. I think I would have waited until I graduated and then probably done alumni like my sister did. Because there is a different type of sisterhood. There's a lifelong sisterhood. My mom's best friends are Zetas, and they're like almost 80, and I don't
Beautiful.
think we have the same thing in white sororities. It's just a whole different experience. And, once you graduate, it's just not the same.
But I think it's also too the commitment you make to it, right?
True.
I think
Yeah.
it's whether or not you commit to sustaining, like any relationship,
Yeah.
right? That you commit to sustaining that relationship over that arc of time.
Yeah.
I think one thing that is apparent with the sisterhood is it's a family,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's the Tridels, whether it's Z5B, it's a family. And whenever you go back to your family's there
Yeah.
and waiting for you to pick up your letters and
Yeah.
put them on. So
Yeah.
I have a question, Coach.
Yes.
Only because I'm thinking about school now. I'm going in my critical thinking film school mode, but I really do. Can we just touch a little bit on the power of assimilation?
Ooh.
Think about Dr. Boyd. Think about JackieRay. The power of assimilation. I'll give backstory, tad, because we're connecting.
Yeah.
Right? Spirit, energy.
Yeah.
The power of assimilation and its dual edge sword.
Yep.
I had the privilege to study at the University of Southern California as well. I had a privilege to learn under Dr. Todd Boyd. And during one of his courses, I had the blessing to view the spook who sat by the door. If you recall the scene where one of us was light-skinned and the king told him, say, put this blonde wig on and you assimilate and you're going to take from them right in front of them because they're not even going to be watching you. You right in their face. He's stealing stuff off old boy's desk. But because he's bright, he beyond the paper bag test, like way over there. So he was able to assimilate to do what he wanted and needed to do. That seed was planted in him. So then I had some twists and turns of life, all self-afflicted. But then I found myself away from my sister. I had always been like really coveted. And then out in this real world. Like, what the?
Yep.
And for me, not even to know, you got to use what you got.
To get what you want.
And not even necessarily from, those parts, but
Yeah.
it's like if this is going to work for me to get my bread, because at the end of my day, it's green.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And if that means I walk through some white fields to get to that green.
Yeah.
And if I have that diction, poise,
Oh yeah,
elegance, that's royalty.
Yep.
Things that the ancestors have left for, things that our mothers taught us. And here we grew up, and that's just real talk in the heart of Compton. But my mothers like
Mhm.
you say, just the lineage.
Yeah.
Our daddy became ill
Mhm.
and changed the economic status of the family.
Mhm.
And my
Mhm.
mother felt I'd rather stay here and continue to shop at Macy's and
Mhm.
travel into Bergdorf and go to, Neiman's and and live my life, Bullocks back in the day, Buffums. That's what I'm going to do.
Mhm.
And just feed the community.
Mhm.
And if we have that talent, I hear you, Queen. Why not use it
Exactly.
to every advantage? And I'm going back to that, and I know that was way much, but that's going back to that assimilation because you're using it to get what you need over here with
Mhm.
them. And then sometimes when you're there, it could be painful.
Yes.
It is painful.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
But because the purpose behind why you are there,
Mhm.
because you said it earlier, is it or is it? It is from the ancestors a privilege
Mhm.
to be at that space,
Yep.
at that level. So you cannot not take advantage of it. You kind of can, but as a seeker,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
you
I hear
cannot
you.
not go over there and just
Right.
see.
Right. Right.
And you can handle that pain, right?
Yeah.
But then there's that other side that is like, why am I? What's the? It,
Yes.
okay, so I'm gonna shut up and
No,
toss
I
the ball to
vibe
you.
with you. I vibe with you.
Boom.
And I think that's what I'm in right now, to
Okay.
be honest, because I think there's something about writing my show and actually dealing with how much of myself I've given away, how much I've dealt with microaggressions all the time.
Mm.
And I think that because I've been
I need
writing
a
my
drink
show,
right now.
okay, and performing my show and reliving it, I think there is honestly a part of me that's like, I am tired of this type of it. I can handle it in this aspect, but I don't know if I can handle it in everything. And that's honestly where I am just personally.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
I think it's a realization that I've spent my whole life
Mhm.
dealing with code switching and microaggressions at every turn. And
I
I
know.
think that at 46, I'm like, you know what? There are going to be times where I say no.
Right.
And it's foreign to me because the rule follower is always thinking of the fact that no, this is this opportunity, this is that opportunity. And I think there's something with, I had a 16-hour surgery for endometriosis.
Mm.
And I think coming out of that surgery, I just look at my life differently. And whereas there are things that I would have easily swallowed in the past, I think it's just like, girl, you have to think about your health.
Mhm.
And I think my endometriosis
Mm.
was so severe because I've swallowed so many things. So now when my body starts to tell me, because I will have endo flare ups when I'm stressed,
Girl.
and it's like I have to listen differently.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And yes, assimilation helps you get into certain places, but I also feel like there hasn't been a conversation of taking care of your spirit because you have to, once you come out of that space, it's like you're depleted and you have to find a way to fill yourself back up.
And can you speak on that spiritual part of that depletion
Mm-hmm. I mean,
and how it is if it for you was in disalignment at all?
that's what I'm starting to pay attention to. I feel like my spirit is starting to say, like, okay, you are really finding who you are at your
Mhm.
core.
Okay.
And you can either go back into old habits that take you out of alignment for where you are now.
Where he was taking
Mhm.
you.
Exactly. So it's this thing of, am I going to let myself fully be seen? Am I going to risk disappointing people to stay true to the journey that I feel like I'm on? I need to be okay with that. Whereas the assimilated self says, girl,
Mm-hmm.
shut up.
Right.
Mm.
Be nice to everybody.
Mhm.
Don't
Yeah,
rattle
rock
any
boat.
cages.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like, I realize, girl, you are 5'10". You have dark skin, you have 4C hair. You were literally created to be seen. And every time you go against what your spirit is telling you,
It doesn't go right.
yeah, it doesn't. And I think that's why you have a lot of jealousy within the Black community, because I have to admit, I was always jealous of the girls who were just like, I don't care what you think of me. I'm going to wear what I want to wear. I'm going to speak the way I want to speak. I was always jealous because I was like, how are you allowed to do that?
I was terrified. He was terrified. I wasn't going to talk about that. My mother beat the hell out of you,
No.
right?
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. You're like, oh my God.
No, I just think we've spent a big part of our lives dimming our light.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it all rates it, even though we grew up in a predominantly Black community and we went to predominantly Black schools, there was, still racial divide there. If you were of lighter skin, people, colorism was so real.
Rampant.
Yeah.
And for friends, I mean, I remember being in like the 6th grade and just wanting to be smaller, right? And being super nice, to this one girl named Kenya who just, I'm like, what is wrong with you? This has worked. I had a formula from kindergarten to 6th grade.
Yes.
And the formula was, Lori, bleed into the back, right? Be quiet. When they start talking about light-skinned people, just say, oh, I'm so nice. Well, that didn't work with Kenya.
No.
And I tried so hard. And unfortunately, I just had to beat Kenya's ass. Things happen.
Listen,
You know?
sometimes that's the
you
only
can't
language
assimilate.
they understand.
Right? You just have to take that step forward to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think code switching, I didn't know what it was called back 100 years ago. But I think sometimes that's just inbred into
survival.
Yeah.
But
into
not
survival
every
mode.
Yeah.
But it's just the truth, like you say in Suburban Girl. Not every one of us had the talent or the gift
or the desire
to go that far into the inner sanctum. Their inner sanctum.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know, why did I want to do that? Now that I think
what?
about it. Why did I go into the inner sanctum? I've been in there for several years. I was in there for several years. I just got free from the inner sanctum not too long ago. Their inner sanctum. You know what I'm talking about. But I'm just saying.
No, it's real. Like, I feel like moving to LA is what freed me from the inner sanctum, because I didn't know I was in it.
Right. But you know what? And pray for me, y'all. It's a talent to be there.
It is.
It's a talent. It's a gift.
It is.
And some of them say it's a privilege.
It's a character I can switch on and switch off.
Because they don't accept everybody.
They don't. They don't.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. The Old Boys Network does not accept or want everyone in there. Yeah. Get down.
No.
Yeah.
So that's just 100.
It's the truth. And
so why not utilize it to your advantage?
Right. I mean, that's honestly what I feel like I'm in the middle of figuring out. Like, okay, how much of myself am I still willing to give? What is the cost? What is the importance? And what can I gain from it? Is this a way of getting reparations by being able to code switch my way into certain spaces? I mean, I've considered that. But you're absolutely right. It is a skill, but also there is a cost.
It's a tax. It's
Yes.
a tax.
Like,
and the tax is kind of low key on your body.
It is.
The money is in the bank account.
Money's in the bank account. But
in here, you.
It's like, I feel it. I still, the endo has spread to my diaphragm and my liver. And whenever I'm stressed out, I feel it in my diaphragm. I get these sharp pains. And I've noticed that I have to pay attention to my body more.
Absolutely.
So when I'm in a circumstance where I'm starting to feel that things, I'm like, I feel like my body is telling me something. And because there's no cure for endometriosis, and because I have to keep my stress down, I have to listen to these signs and move accordingly, because I had 2 surgeries in a year.
16 hours. That's
16 hours. Everything was glued together in my pelvic region. It was so bad.
I can't even imagine that recovery.
The medical bills alone the recovery. My parents, thank God, were able to come out and be with me. But that's one of the biggest things that, my physician was telling me, as well as support groups. They were like, you've got to keep your stress levels low. You've got to pay attention to when your body is telling you certain things just are not working. And yeah, it's like my priorities are a little bit different now, and I'm starting to recognize when the code switching is actually bringing me pain.
Gotcha.
And it's crazy. I never would have guessed that.
I feel like what I hear is that you're going through what some of them call a butterfly season. See, I didn't even know. Praise be to Allah. A butterfly season.
Yeah.
I didn't, but really, you already, okay, boom. Shakalaka.
I'm saying.
Alignment. No, really,
Yeah,
though.
it
You're going
does
through that
feel
season.
like that. It really does. And I'm learning not to fight it. I'm also learning to take time and just meditate and journal and pray about where I am, what direction I'm going in, and if it's wise, and I'm very big in prayer, and I'll burn my sage to cleanse the energy.
Absolutely.
And just somatic exercises are important because we
Yes.
hold so much stress in our bodies. So releasing that. But yeah, there is a price to code switching. And
We need to do a show on that, guys.
especially with Black women
No,
in
yeah.
corporate spaces. Like, I think about my sister. Like, I remember when I was working in corporate America, my back, my neck and my back always in pain. I know.
My
It's like,
neck and my back.
neck and my back.
You know we went to school with them girls.
Stop it. Oh
From
my
elementary
gosh.
school to high school.
No
to high
way.
school.
I love it. I love it.
But no, you're right. And the headaches, any of those?
Yeah.
Girl, yeah.
Headaches, the tooth grinding. I have had so much dental work because I clench my teeth in my sleep from the
It's just
stress.
the
And it's
pressure.
just like, I'm not afraid to look at my own habits and look at my life and just say, am I taking care of myself, or am I just focused on making money? Because you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't
You
have
have
your
your
health,
health.
Don't have
girl.
your health.
and that's
Preach,
kind of
preach
where
it.
I am right now.
But it sounds like everything is still in alignment.
Yeah.
And the Suburban Girl and all of your work. But the thing is, Queen, you have so much. It sounds like a season. And you still probably go over there. Because that's inbred in
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
You earned that.
Yeah. I dipped my toe back in,
And then now you have so much, it's like on the brink of continuous enlightenment, like looking at this table, and if you were on that table and you're like, it's just, the world is out there for you.
Yeah. I do feel
And
like
it's just more like, which pool am I going to go to?
yes.
Right?
Yeah. And I'm very grateful to be in that space, to feel like, okay, universe, like what actually do you want me to do? Because also, being a creative, we have more freedom to just kind of go where the spirit is moving. So I'm grateful for all of it.
Yes.
All of these experiences are worthwhile, and I want to see more stories about us, because we are not a monolith.
Yes.
I want us to be able to be seen as the unique human beings with a variety of
are.
experiences and stories and purposes.
And stories that we can give to the babies.
Yes.
Yes.
To the little Black girls.
Yes.
Throughout the world.
Yeah.
To know, I don't care what they say from their inner sanctum. I am somebody. I am special.
Yes.
I am unique.
Yes.
And cannot be replaced.
Period. Absolutely.
And the more we do that for our babies, we can
Absolutely.
do some of the ancestral knowledge on those little girls right now.
Absolutely.
Right here.
Yeah.
We
Which
have
what we're
to.
doing right now.
Right, what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Stories of empowerment.
Absolutely. And just knowing you're not alone.
When are we going to see the Suburban Girl? Oh my God. When are we going to see the
You
Suburban
got
Girl?
to tell us
Yes.
what's
So
next.
we just had a run that ended at Outside In Theater in Highland Park. We are actively pitching it. I want to do another run in LA for sure.
We will be there.
I want to do a run in Chicago, Philly, Seattle, New York. So yeah, we are in the works.
Oh,
So I will
yay.
keep y'all
Alright.
posted. I have the copyright, so
Amen.
more soon, more soon.
And
Congratulations.
if people are
Thank you.
excited about what you're doing, do you have any social media handles where they could follow you?
Yes, at official Zakiya Young on Instagram, and also I have a YouTube channel that's also either Suburban Black Girl or Zakiya Young.
See, I gotta do that.
Okay.
Gotta get that.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Great.
I'm gonna subscribe and ring that notification bell. There
Thank
you go.
you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us
Oh my
this evening.
gosh.
We appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for
Right.
having me.
And more to come. We'd love to have you
Yes.
come back. Let
I'd
us
love
know. Keep
to.
us updated on
Yeah.
Suburban Black Girl.
Yes, please.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Close out, sister.
All right. Well, good night, and thanks for joining us.